I could listen to this music all day. It's very relaxing. Maybe I should put it on when I'm working. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome. This is a completely impromptu stream. And I realized that a few people might not join us until after the stream goes live or after the stream goes post live onto YouTube. Yay! Thanks for having us back, YouTube. If you are coming to join the chat, pop your comments in. If you want to come and talk with me on the stream, let me know and I'll post you a link. I'd love to have some people come and join me. This is a very laid back conversation where I'm going to be discussing some things that have happened in the last couple of weeks and also some things that are happening in the coming weeks. So I thought instead of posting a series of social media posts about those things, I would just hop online and discuss them all with anybody watching. Yes, Nicole. YouTube let me back. Oh, yeah, they did. They did. So I, as some of you will know, had a temporary suspension from YouTube where I couldn't post videos or even text posts onto YouTube. And so I couldn't stream the 12-hour live stream either. And because of that, I thought that today I would take the opportunity to catch up with everybody about some things that have been happening. And this will go straight onto YouTube after we've finished. So it's a good opportunity to talk. I just found this in my notebook. Some of my children's drawings, because any of the people tuning in with kids will know that you can't have a notebook without sharing it. So all of my notebooks have scribbles, and patrons that have things sent to them will know that they get special posts, well, special things in the post that have unique drawings in them. Because as I'm writing thank yous to patrons in my notebooks, I tend to have loads of pages with fancy scribbles in that I can then put into those letters as well, which is always a nice touch. So I wanted to start the conversation with talking about what is happening next weekend on the 30th of June and the 1st and 2nd of July, and that is the International Cultic Studies Association Conference for 2023. And when I first got to have a look at this lineup, I was really surprised to see just how many of the guests on the lineup have been on the podcast before. So I'll share the screen, and we might not be able to see too much of it. I better get a cute scribble. They are very cute, Nicole. They are very cute. Right, so this is not very I'll try and zoom in because it's not very zoomed in on the actual website. But if we look here, so this is the lineup for the event. Look at all of these panels. Look at all of this stuff that's going to be happening. I'm so excited to be attending virtually the ICSA conference this year. And for anybody that doesn't know about the International Cultic Studies Association, it says on the website, cult information since 1979. And if I go on to the home page and I click down to About Us, it says, founded in 1979, the International Cultic Studies Association, or ICSA, is a global network of people concerned about psychological manipulation and abuse in cultic and other high control environments. ICSA is tax exempt, supports civil liberties, and is not affiliated with any religious or commercial organizations. ICSA is unique in how it brings together former group members, families, helping professionals, and researchers. So I would like to think that I am a very small part of that community. And I am really looking forward to the educational panels that will take place next week. So on the Wednesday, Wednesday the 28th, there are some things happening that are more around introductory sessions for people attending the conference in Lewis. Now, someone needs to confirm this for me. It's St. Louis, and then or is it Louisville, or is it Louisville? Because somebody once said to me it's St. Louis, and then I got confused because I didn't know if we're supposed to say Louisville, Kentucky or Louisville, Kentucky. So somebody please let me know which is which so I can get it right. Here we see some familiar names. You've got Julie Jenkinson giving a clinical roundtable on the Thursday. There's here 3:15 on track 2 for people that are watching virtually like myself. There's Esther Friedman. I hope that Esther's still going to be taking part in that panel, but I'm not sure if she will make it to the conference in time. We see Jarrett doing a writing workshop. That's amazing. And then on Thursday, the 29th, there is a welcome from the president of ICSA, Debbie Shriver. And then there's some information on how the event is going to run. And then the panels start. And this is where it gets really tricky because we have to try and decide which panels we want to go and see. So if you're there in person, I imagine it's very difficult to choose which ones to go to in person. But if you're watching virtually, I believe there is the opportunity to watch things back. I'm not sure if that is 100% true, but the first panel, exploring the fine line of culty in the online self-help industry, that's really prominent right now with different groups and exploitative individuals in online spaces. And Jennifer French is a name that I recognize within that panel. I have not had the opportunity to speak to Jennifer, but I do appreciate the work that she's doing. So it'll be interesting to see what comes from that panel. And the second panel that's taken place at the same time as that is the benefits and pitfalls of telling your story for anonymous activists, memoirists, whistleblowers, and everyone who has a culty story to tell. So we recognize Jarrett's name, Sarah Edmondson, Esther Friedman, friend of the podcast. I recognize Shelley Snowpordia's name, and Lisa Cohn, of course, another friend of the podcast. So that sounds like it's going to be a really interesting talk. At the same time, coercive controlling relationships. There's Michael Langoni, whose name I recognize, but not too many of the other names. Francisco Gonzalez, Pablo Najera. These are not names that I currently know. So a good thing about the International Cultic Studies Association conference is that you can go and look at all of these names and see what other work is taking place within the space. And also a panel taking place at the same time is the psychosocial quicksand model, which has come out of last year's Salford course in the psychology of coercive control. So Kate Amber is the individual who developed that model, I believe, during her research within the Salford Masters, and Rod Dubrow Marshall is one of the leaders of the course. So he will be one of my course leaders from September when I enroll onto that course. So I've heard really, really positive things about the quicksand model and how many individuals who have experienced cultic environments relate to that idea of not realizing that things are becoming more and more damaging, and it's a slow and steady infiltration, uh, a slow and steady funneling into those experiences. Um, Hello, Heather. Thanks for dropping by. We're just discussing the next week's International Cultic Studies Association conference for anybody that's interested in learning more. I hope you're well. How are you doing? You see all this stuff on my bed? I've got all my parcels and envelopes and everything ready to sending some post tomorrow for everybody that won prizes on the hello, Juco's here. Nice to see you. Anybody that won prizes, I've got uh I've got all of my stuff ready to send out to people. And also, because I had Crimecon last week, I had loads of marketing developed. I had lots of magnets and badges and stuff all ready for Crimecon. So I'm going to make sure that I send some extra special goodies in all of the parcels to winners' houses. So following on from those introductory panels, there are a ton more things happening afterwards. We've got Let's have a look here. I recognize Robert Menner. Some of you may remember my conversation with, I spoke to Bob about his daughter joining Rantha School of Enlightenment, and then I spoke to Bob's daughter about her joining Rantha School of Enlightenment. So that's going to be Bob's The Short and Long-Term Effects of COVID Messaging and the Difficulty in Communicating Risk. That is most likely a very interesting panel because I feel like there's a lot to deconstruct and talk about with COVID that maybe people are still working out. I know I certainly am still working through some difficult things that happened during COVID, and because there are still um, boosters and different variants, and some people are still opting for face masks and PPE, um, which of course is most likely the right thing to do, especially if you are somebody that has underlying health issues. It's almost like we're not really out of the COVID phase, and I'm not sure how long it will go on for. So I imagine that Bob's talk there will be really interesting. Um, and then there's a panel, a life cycle of cult involvement and how to use it. There we see Arthur Buckman, another name that I'm not familiar with, but Linda Dubrow Marshall and Rob Dubrow Marshall will be the two leaders of the course that I will be undertaking from September. I recognize Carol Murchison, Civil Law and Cult Accountability for Sex Crimes. So I have an interview coming up with Carol next weekend. So it will hopefully complement the ICSA conference, and we will be talking about taking legal action from sexual abuse and harassment in spiritual and religious spaces. And this is a huge conversation that I imagine will be very interesting for anybody that would like to go and listen to Carol talk. I really am looking forward to everybody hearing the conversation that I had with Carol. It's one that will stay with me throughout my whole cult education, I imagine. Um, Juco says that there is one a fridge magnet on your cooker hood. Is a good place to put it. It's a good place to put it. Old school groups like adapted to COVID. Yeah, lots of groups. Lots of groups. I've been hearing that groups that have a lot of doomsday prophecies or apocalyptic teachings have really co-opted COVID to further their own agendas, um, which is also interesting when you consider how people couldn't meet in person. And has that had a detrimental effect on cultic groups, or has it helped certain cultic groups that have adapted or primarily use online spaces to again further their own agenda of recruiting and retaining individuals into their groups. Um, Heather says, I am fabulous. I hope you are too. I am, Heather. It's been a very, very busy few weeks. So I wanted to catch up with everybody about things that have been happening. Um, Very timely given things that happened in the UK today. Is this in terms of Carol's work, or is this in terms of COVID? You'll have to let me know. I remember that. That was so interesting to see both sides. It was, Heather, interesting to see both sides of how COVID affected certain groups, and interesting to have those discussions with people that were talking with me during the time of lockdown. So Carol's panel, I imagine, will be very insightful. Leamy, I am familiar with Leamy's work. Leaving isn't linear. A second generation adults SGA exit from the Moonies. I'm trying to work out how to attend what panels to attend. There's for people attending virtually, there's an app that the event takes place on, and you're supposed to work out. It's like going to a music festival where there's loads of stages and all your favorite bands are playing at the same time. It's going to be difficult to work out how we choose different panels. And then Ashlyn Hilliard, and also a graduate of the Salford course and friend of the podcast. The relationship between reproductive coercion, psychologically abusive environments, and the extent of group identity in a sample of those that have left cultic groups. Wow, there's so many different subject matters and topics. How are we going to choose? Educo's doing the very Educo-iest thing of saying something but not being able to say it all. I look forward to hearing what this is all about. I was behind in the comment was Heather, I never make any sense, so please don't ever apologize. So here we go down after lunch. There's different panels. Gold, Guns, and God, Swami Bhaktipada and the West Virginia Hare Krishnas. That sounds really interesting. More stuff about legal things regarding cultic groups. Corpus, oh gosh, habitus and abuses in religious environment, a debate on cultural identity and victim silence. That's really interesting because I was just talking to Erica Borman earlier about Kwasi Ubuntu, and I always think about how the cultural practices of the Zulu nation were used to justify corporal punishment of children within the group Kwasi Ubuntu, uh, despite the group being um, mostly made of white individuals. And then here we have a panel at 2:30. The impact of control and coercive marriages within polygamy and how COVID affected a substantial delay in finalizing a divorce. Wow. That's with Jane Ridley, Kristen Decker, and Nicole Van Tassel. So Jane Ridley and Kristen Decker have both been on the show before. Kristen Decker is just an incredible woman. Last year's 12-hour live stream was dedicated to raising funds for the nonprofit that Kristen was working on. And Kristen also has a Decker. Kristen also has a Decker. Kristen Decker also has a memoir called 50 Years in Polygamy. Incredible book. Just. And if anybody listening is a patron, which I know a number of you are, it is really fascinating to tie the links between Kristen and the Apostolic United Brethren and the recent deep dive that I did on the Church of the Firstborn with Ervil LeBaron and Joel LeBaron and the Ervilites and the Joelites, and how Kristen's story kind of fed into that at some point. And I had a realization recalling my conversation with Kristen when she said, and then my uncle was assassinated and my father became the leader of the Apostolic United Brethren. And then we kind of moved on the conversation and started talking about the rest of Kristen's experiences and the work that she's doing now. And it was only when I went back to research the Church of the Firstborn that I linked the two together and realized, wow, this is exactly what Kristen was talking about. And it was kind of wild. So Gilly Jenkinson is going to be doing a panel, a talk, Walking Free After Abuse in a Cultic Setting. And this is going to be based on Gilly Jenkinson's new book, new course book, which has just been released. So it's a tool to help individuals recover and to learn about the subject of coercive control. And then there's lots of more panels, more dealing with moral injury after relationship with a moralistic narcissist. So moral injury is a huge conversation to have in regards to individuals' recovery from certain groups. Rachel Bernstein, why fear makes us say yes when we knew we should have said no. Oh gosh, I feel like that conversation takes place daily in this house about the effects of cults. Um, here we go, Ken Garrett, friend of the podcast. I just I just love Ken's work um and he when he comes over to the UK and he visits like really traditional British pubs and sends pictures, has a panel, church or cult or both. But happening at the same time as that is a panel pursuing justice in the time of COVID, Kwasi Ubuntu as a case study with Erica Borman and Daniel Schricker, possibly two of the biggest supporters of the Cult Vault podcast. So again, like how do you choose what you'll go to? Nicole says Ajuko does that. I'm glad it's good news. Heather, there is a huge delay in posting as well. Oh, is there? I'm sorry that there's a delay. Um, so even a sworn to like to spread good news, even if I'm sworn to silence. That is, we need that. We need that. We celebrate with you. Shout out to Gilly Jenkinson. Big shout out to Gilly Jenkinson. There's a great convo between Dr. Romani and Yanya. I saw this. I saw this posted. There's so much to catch up on. I feel like the content is huge right now. There's just so much coming out from every angle. Oh, Daniel's here. Looking forward to the conference. Erica and I will be doing a live Zoom Q&A after our presentation, so please come and join. I will be there. I am really, really looking forward to it. There's so much to choose from, but I mean, wouldn't it be so good to be there in person? Look at all these names. What I would do to meet all of these people in person that I've had the absolute privilege of speaking to on the podcast. Look at all these names. And there's so many people that whose names I recognize who I haven't had a chance to speak to. On the Friday, I see more names I recognize. Um, Pro social distancing. That sounds interesting. Identifying patterns of harmful people. That's with Jennifer French. Kent Berner negotiating the potholes on the road to recovery. Kent is also a contributing author to the Wounded Faith book, I think, that Kenneth Garrett also and Michael Langoni also contributed to. Debbie Shriver is doing a panel with Lorna Goldberg and Matt Broderick and Shayna Broderick, the evolving self-identity of an S or MGA. So entering mainstream society. Wow, I feel like every interview I do, the final section on leaving, recovering, and all of that stuff, it is this panel. I bet that's going to be absolutely fascinating. And something that I talked about with Nicole just previously in our book club. So if anyone wants to join a book club, Nicole has, well, I shouldn't say join a book club. If anyone wants to attend a book club instead of joining a book club or being invited to a book club, if anyone wants to attend a book club, monthly book club, no pressure. We just read a book and talk about what we thought. Oh, hi, Sue. Welcome. Hello. Hello, Sue. Love Julie's book. I still need to get myself a copy. desperately as it's so current right now, and will help very much with the work that we will be doing from September. So um, I will be doing the Salford Masters in the Psychology of Coercive Control with some other individuals, and we share some things that we think will be helpful. Um, Talking about the Salford course, there's another panel with Rod and Linda Brown Marshall investigating the psychological health and well-being of former members of cultic groups. Wow. I mean, it sounds quite intimidating when you just read the titles of the talks. They sound very academic, but I imagine they will be broken down to be very accessible for all individuals working on the subject of cult awareness. Stephen Hassan Steve, it says there. Ooh, that's very casual, isn't it? Updating undue influence in the law, the journey of 47 years. So I guess that Stephen Hassan will be talking about everything that he's learned during his career. A lot to pack into a 30-minute session. I recognise Paul Jensen. Laura Davis, there we go. Every part of your journey matters. My experience growing up in and leaving the International Churches of Christ. Huge subject. Amy Saltzman, How to Spot a Sneaky Spider, teaching people of all ages to recognise coercive control. There's so many amazing so many amazing panels and talks. Patrick Ryan, Ashton Hilliard, Joseph Kelly, and Yuval Leah, an exploration of the nature of internal experiences. Wow, I mean, just look at all of this content. How are you supposed to choose? Gosh, I wish I was there in person to meet everybody. Just going down, down, down the panel. What causes awe experiences? A fundamental reason why a lot of people stay in. Kate Amber's work is amazing. She is a Salford graduate. Oh, you missed us talking about this. You missed us talking about this, Sue. Yes, we're going to be interested in learning about the psychosocial quicksand model. Um, just look at all these different panels. You should write a memoir. Alternative schooling in cultic groups. Oh, here's one. Seeking Salvation, the Dopaminergic Defense Hypothesis by Dr. John Hunter. So my episodes today that are going to be out before midnight are actually with Dr. John Hunter, and it is one of the most interesting conversations I have ever had. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to see what everybody thinks about the panel, the talk that I did with John Hunter. What a mind that man has. Absolutely incredible. And then Zoe Lambert and Leah Levy have the last two panels. Daughter of Mine, a creative presentation on the relationships between mothers and daughters in high control groups. With Michael Langoni doing a lessons learned video before doing the awards. Oh gosh. Congratulations to everybody that's entered into and shortlisted for the awards as well. So there's so much going on for the International Cultic Studies Association conference starting on Wednesday onwards. I will be there virtually. I'm so looking forward to all of the different talks, and I really hope that there's a chance to catch up on the things that we don't get to watch whilst we're in other panels. Anybody that's looking to go but is worried about the cost, there is a scholarship that you can apply for, the Joan Capellini Fund. Joan Capellini, what an incredible woman. Please go and read all about Joan Capellini if you aren't sure of who she is. Oh, just a warrior in the world of cult activism, until the day she sadly passed away. And her family are so wonderful and so supportive. And it's wonderful that that fund exists, and it should be accessed by as many people as possible who are interested in going to the ICSA conference to learn more things. So let's have a little look at some other things. That is all about the International Cortex Studies Association. Are you going? Are you talking there? Are you going to be watching certain panels? If you're not going, would you have certain panels that you'd be more interested in? Let me know in the chat, and I will stop sharing that screen for now. And think that's everything to do with ICSA. Let me know if I've missed anything out. One day, gosh, I would love the opportunity to speak. Maybe after my master's course, if I have some interesting research to talk about, I will do that there. We'll have to wait and see. So, what is next? I have just returned from Crimecon. Um, well, not just. It feels like that though. Oh gosh, yes, in some ways it feels like I haven't actually been. It went so fast. Sue says, how do we sign up for each session? I think you can go into the Hoover app and you can plan your agenda by clicking on certain sessions um, and interacting with certain things. I will have a little look at the app this weekend and let you know if I find anything out. So, big news for the Cult Vault podcast. I have this week received my official invitation back to CrimeCon for Glasgow in September. On the 16th, we're going to be at the Hilton Hotel in Glasgow Central, and it's going to be a 1 day packed, full, incredible day. I mean, I'll arrive on the Friday and leave on the Sunday, so it's still a good weekend for me of networking and meeting individuals and having just the best time. The Saturday will be full of talks and panels and book signings and interviews and networking and drinking at the bar and going out for food and everything you can think of packed into 1 day, and probably a big old quiz at the end of the night. It's going to be full on, but it's going to be incredible. I will be there. I am cooking up something very, very special for the Glasgow event. Nothing is confirmed yet, so I don't want to say anything here whilst I'm live. But the really cool thing to know about Glasgow is that there's only one stage. So it's the big stage, and it's probably like a capacity of 1,000 people. So I have pitched my idea for a live talk. And if it is accepted, it will be a big talk about cults in front of a big group of people. And I would just love some of you to be there in the audience, asking questions, joining us for the weekend, having a great time. The tickets are on sale. You can spread the cost over several months, and you can go on to crimecon.co.uk to get your tickets today. They're on sale now, and you can use the code CULT, CULT, to get 10% off. All of you have heard me say this 1,000 times by now, I imagine. But I don't normally tell people that whenever the code is used, it generates discounts for us on our accommodation, on our travel, on our lunch, our breakfast. So as an independent podcaster, it's really helpful for me when I self-fund trips and stays to these conventions, that there is a way to minimize the costs. So anytime anybody uses that code, it's really, really helpful and beneficial to the podcast. But even if someone else's code was used, I just want to hang out with people. So if you can make it, come and join us. And hopefully I'll be doing a big old talk and that I can give more information about soon. And also, there will be a Crimecon in London 2024. Um, a few people have already used the cult code for 10% off for 2024, which is wild. So I do hope that there will be an official invitation back to Crimecon next June in London, which will take place over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So do let me know if you can make it, if you're going to be there in September or June, and we can start making some plans on what we can do, where we can go and eat, what we can get up to. And that is pretty much everything. Really, really excited for CrimeCon. Oh gosh, I can't wait for September already. So that is that. In terms of the fundraiser, for the 12-hour live stream. We almost reached the halfway mark. I think I'm probably going to close the fundraiser in a week or so. So I'm just going to finish uploading um, the different sections and the different talks I had with each person separately onto YouTube. And the fundraiser, it was a huge success, minimal technical difficulties. Every person that came was just there in the lobby early, had so much amazing insight and so many great things to say. Everything went so smoothly. Just YouTube let us down. We were really stifled by the fact that we couldn't stream live on YouTube. So I've uploaded the whole stream and I am slowly getting through uploading the individual talks. And after that, I might upload the audio to the RSS feed for my podcast because I realize that some people just listen, they don't watch. So it might be interesting to do that. If you are subscribed and signed up to the Cult Vault everywhere, I apologize for the duplication of, of content. Although people do say that you should really maximize your content by repurposing it for everywhere you can think of. So that's kind of what's happening at the moment. So thank you to everybody who tuned into the stream, has watched it since, has commented, has donated. And I will be tomorrow getting very, very busy with packing everybody's gifts into the yeah, cult bullies took you off YouTube. They are bullies. They are bullies, but we're still here, and we're still recording. So I'm going to be getting down to packaging everybody's gifts. I think I've got most people's addresses, but if you did win a prize and I don't have your address, please send it to me so that I can send over some stuff to you. And also, I have all these extra goodies that I will be packing with everybody's prizes. So like little key rings, Cult Vault key rings. We've got Cult Vault fridge magnets that are a really nice size. How cool are they? Little fridge magnets. We've got bookmarks, we've got badges, we've got stickers, we've got business cards, and I'll try and get one piece out. We've got this really, really, really cool Cult Vault wrapping paper. Look at this. Isn't this cool? So I'm hoping I can wrap everybody's goodies up really nicely. Put some bespoke artwork in there from my notebook, from special scribbles that get left behind. And anybody that's won a prize is I'm going to hang up your kid's drawing with the magnet. That's a great idea, Nicole. So that's how I'm going to be sending everybody's things to all of the winners that won things during the fundraiser. So I am going to be keeping the fundraiser open. If you can, please consider donating. I have pinned the link to the top of the chat. I'll just put it in again. We did so well Oh gosh, we really nearly reached the halfway point, and I think that it's going to be great to be able to send a portion of that to the Family Survival Trust. Postage costs, I don't even want to think about them because sending overseas is like remortgaging your house money. But we'll get to that, and everybody will get their prizes one way or another. Um, so that is the fundraiser, and I'm looking forward to the next one already. It went so fast. It went so fast, and it's so funny because there were people that were like, "I'm going to stay up with you the whole night," and then disappeared about 3 hours later, and you know who you are. But I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. I think having young kids makes it a bit easier to stay awake for 12 hours and be kind of present. So what else? What else did I want to catch everybody up on? Oh, we were shortlisted for the True Crime Awards, which we didn't win. We didn't get the commendation, but I just had a wonderful time. It was a beautiful event. And it was great because I got to spend time with friends that I've made through this podcast that I haven't had the chance to meet in person until that weekend. So it was a very, very special weekend for me. And I'm still kind of coming down from the from the event itself. Um, I met Ryan Anthony Hernandez from the Truth That Heals podcast. That was such a special moment. I met other people who I consider friends that it was just so lovely. We also went and sat down for dinner, and we were by the I don't want to say docks, the wharf, a wharf, but we were by the river, by the water, and all the boats were lined up, and it was like the sun was setting, and you had the breeze, and we ate food, and it was just lovely. It was just so lovely. Um, a really, really special night. It felt like being like in Barcelona or something, down by the water. Just yeah, just really lovely. Until the end of the evening, there was a strange thing that happened with a sanitary issue in the toilets, but I don't need to go into that, and so I won't. um, that was a very special weekend. And of course, the biggest highlight for me was doing a live talk with John Atack, which is now available on the RSS feed of the podcast. I put it out this morning, which you can go and listen to if you haven't already, or if you might have been there live and saw it. Oh, just such an experience. John Atack is an incredible speaker, very, very witty, very funny, and just so smart and informed and educated. And John was kind enough to sign copies of Opening Our Minds after the session, um, where he spoke to every person who had a book signed. He spoke to every person for a length of time, and then joined us in the bar afterwards for a couple of drinks where we talked about John and his work and just what does John get up to when he's not when he's not doing this stuff, which was really nice. Juko says the interview with John Atack is incredible. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's all John Atack. Oh, you can just tell he's been doing this for so long. And the audio is a bit sketchy where I raised the volume for when the guests were asking questions. But I thought the questions were important to hear, so that's why the audio is a bit dodgy at that point. Um, And also another thing that happened at Crimecon, I was speaking to Jamie Gehring about her book, The Man in the Woods, about being on her family's property growing up as a child and having a strange man who she didn't think was strange at first, living in one of the properties on her family's acreage. And what came to what came to the knowledge of the family and to the world at one point is that this man that lived in this property on Jamie's family's land was Ted Kaczynski. And she was telling me all about growing up with her neighbor, the Unabomber. And the reason that Jamie approached the Cult Vault table with all of the kind of marketing and stuff around was because Jamie is in a writers group, and she said that she has a friend in the writing group who has written a memoir about growing up in a cult. And she said, "Have you heard of the memoir Uncultured?" And I was like, Daniela Messianek Young has been on the podcast a couple of times, and I have a signed a copy of the book. And she was like, "Wow, yeah." So she's in a group with uh, with Daniela, and we got talking, and we as I tend to do at Crimecon, which is these are the conversations that I just embrace so much in a space where people are like, "Oh wow, I've heard of Jim Jones," or "I've heard of the Branch Davidians," or "Oh, did you watch A Very British Cult?" So I was talking to Jamie about the similarities between radicalization and extremism, with domestic terrorism, and also with terrorism in general. And Jamie said that it's unsettling how some people in the world are still supporters of Ted Kaczynski's teachings and this manifesto that he wrote, and how he was still able, through clerical errors during transportation from one place to another, send out messages, and give people direct instructions on how to do things. And my partner asked Jamie, "Is Ted Kaczynski still alive?" And she said, "He is. I think he's 81." And we carried on talking for a little bit, and Jamie came and watched my talk, and I got a signed copy of Jamie's book. Um, and the next day, just as she was leaving, well, actually later on that day, just as John Atack was leaving, we were all saying goodbye, and he came up to me and he said, "I've just heard that Ted Kaczynski has died in prison." And it was the weirdest thing because I just talked earlier that day to Jamie about him and his life and how he was still alive. And so I saw her the next morning and I just looked at her and I said, "Oh my goodness." And she said, "I know, I've been up talking to reporters all night." And it was just a really bizarre thing that I feel like you can only really have that experience when you're at CrimeCon. But it kind of left me like, ooh, with the heebies a little bit. So that was just a really bizarre experience that I wanted to share with everybody, about CrimeCon. And then also, I got to see my friend David Swindle, who some of you may know, Scottish journalist, and TV presenter, who is doing a string of live shows, um, and just invited me to his Liverpool show that he's doing soon, where he was like, "Come and join us all backstage." So that's going to be really exciting as well. This is the really amazing thing about CrimeCon, and I hope that anybody that's been has had the chance to experience some of that as well. Um, so yes, Heather, so he has just died, and it was a crazy coincidence. It was such a strange thing. There's a good song about about Ted Kaczynski. I have to take your word for it. That's not a song that I've heard before. Somebody did send me a song the other day about Heaven's Gate, and I told them that I would promote it. So let me find out the name of the song or the link to the video, and I will put it in the chat for anybody that wants to go and have a little listen. There it is. Um, it was an okay song. I think one of the members of Heaven's Gate, or former members, there's a dispute on how the person should be spoken about. Commented to say that some of the lyrics were distasteful. So um, make of that what each of you will. um, so where was I up to? Yes, so that was everything about CrimeCon. I really, really, really hope that I can come over to the American CrimeCon, maybe next year, maybe the year after. But I think that if I was to make it over to America, I would hope to have a big old group of people to meet, because 90% of the listeners of the Court Vault podcast are over in the States. So I'm really hoping to make that trip over at some point so I can come and meet all of you, and say hello. Um, so where was I up to? I've talked about ICSA, the awards, Crimecon. I've talked about the fundraiser. Um, and I just had a couple of other comments really. I've got so much cult news to catch up on, but I have been watching in my downtime Mad Men. So I watched I watched Mad Men years and years and years ago, and I was like, "Wow, this show's so good. I really love all the characters." And now I've watched it again, and every character is the worst. There are no good people, I don't think, in Mad Men. And I don't even think it's like because of the times. I think it's just the way that it's written. Um, so those are my thoughts on Mad Men. But what was interesting about watching the times, the kind of the 60s through to the 70s, was kind of trying to recapture how America reacted to things like JFK's assassination, um and and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. But also there was this an episode where one of the main cast members went to a Hare Krishna chanting session, and everybody was dressed in orange, and they were talking about Swami Prabhupada, and I thought that was really interesting. And then there's a section where one of the women works for Mary Kay but wants to go and work for Avon, so I thought that that was really interesting as well. So here we go again with more kind of like unable to escape the cults, and things related to cults. But of course, Mad Men is all based on advertising. And if you read John Atack's Opening Our Minds, there is a whole section in that book about how we are influenced by things like commercialization and advertising. And there's a whole sort of chronologizing of advertising, where it came from and how it's changed over the years and how we're all influenced and how it's used today by listening to our devices, and personalized ads and things like that. So um it it's really, really something to read, Opening Our Minds. I just can't recommend it enough. It really is amazing. And I'll be going on to John Atack's YouTube channel, John Atack Family and Friends. We have a talk booked for sometime in July, so in a few weeks time there'll be another talk between John and myself airing on his YouTube channel about online cultic activity, which is becoming more and more of a thing, and something that I was asked a lot about at Crimecon. Um, and I also asked John if he would give me some tips, and some guidance as I go into the Salford course, and also, after that, if if I can get some kind of mentorship going forward in this work. So it looks like I have been taken under another wing, which I am truly appreciative of, because I just kind of like, "Ooh," blind in the darkness. Help me! I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going. So I truly appreciate that as well. I've just had so much support over the last few weeks from individuals, and navigating this space is really, really tough, as we all know. So I just appreciate the constant support that I am offered openly, and um kind of in one-on-one conversations as well. I really appreciate that. Talking about Glastonbury, every year it's it's like, the 12 tribes rock up with one of their little one of their little mobile eateries, and leaflets, and they're like, "Hey, try our lovely food and and have this leaflet." Um, so Ajuko, a fan of the Manic Street Preachers, I saw them once at the festival or Tea in the Park, one of the two. Very good, very good. Um, Guns N' Roses. Sue, Were you a Guns N' Roses fan when you were younger? I mean, I'm trying to gauge the Oh, you lived all over the world though, so you probably had interest in musicians and bands and music that maybe I've never even heard of. More Colt Vault and John Atack. Yep. Casey, you're a true natural at what you do. You've done a tremendous job and can't wait to see you continue to flourish. Oh, Heather, thank you so much. Heather's been like here from the very start. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Best anti-cult band out there. Maybe there's scope for an anti-cult band. Wouldn't that be something? Maybe that's what this group of people were doing. Called The Ghost of Fu Kang Walker. There's a really, really long comment by It's not too late to unlock heaven's gates is one of the lyrics. Some interesting stuff there to contemplate. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about today. I did want to ask if anybody had any ideas. Say that there was going to be a TV program that was true crime based about unsolved cases. How would you link cult expertise or cult educational anti-cult expertise to the world of true crime to say you should have this in your TV program because it's very prevalent even in cold cases. I've been thinking about identifying patterns of behavior, radicalization and extremism that might lead to somebody leaving. Cult-based murders, Heather, I thought about kind of ritualistic killings, honor killings, human trafficking. If an individual goes missing, there's a chance that there is trafficking at play, whether that's kind of national, international, across borders trafficking, or organ harvesting and for domestic servitude and sexual exploitation. There's lots of different things that I've been thinking about in terms of linking investigating cold cases with the idea of cult knowledge. So I'm just wondering if anyone else would have a way to link those things together. Um, I'm just going to let everybody ponder that while I hop to the bathroom, and I'm going to leave up. I'm going to play this Heaven's Gate song whilst I go. The video is a bit jarring in some ways. It's also very loud, so I'm going to turn it down. And then I'm going to share the screen. And then I'm going to play the song.
E si cambia registro, andando ad ascoltare i The Ghost of Fu Kang Walker con Heaven's Gate.
Turn it down. Enjoy.
Trip, don't hesitate. This ship, it will not
brano pieno di groove metal, Heaven's Gate, The Ghost of Fucking Walker. E adesso dalla Francia, Wars Helder con il suo secondo singolo dell'album.
I don't know what you all think about that. I thought it was interesting. I got it sent to me in an email, so I just thought I'd share it, as I told them I would. They also offered to send me some merchandise. So we've got cult-based murders. Who went missing into a cult recently? Right, let me write these things down. I've had it. I went to book club earlier, and I ended up writing. I know it's only a small notebook, but I ended up writing like so many pages of things in preparation for my interview with Guinevere Turner, who has written a book called When the World Didn't End. It's a very, very interesting book. It's very different to a lot of memoirs that I've read. So I do recommend people go and pick up a copy if you are interested in hearing an individual's story from the perspective of 6 to 18 years old in um I don't want to say a cult because it's made up of many parts, but it was interesting. The really interesting thing about Guinevere's book is that she was told to keep a diary, which of course was not a private diary. But she still has those diaries, and so a lot of the book is it contains entries into various diaries throughout her life, and it was a very compelling read, as Nicole and I both agreed with Erica and Andrew Pledger in our cult book club earlier, or in a book club. I don't want to say our. So if you want to attend a book club, we plan to meet next month to talk about Lily Dunn's memoir, which will be another interesting discussion, I imagine. So let's talk about some of the suggestions. Heather says Keith Raniere. Keith Raniere. Okay, so there we have human trafficking. We have money laundering. We have tax evasion. We have child explicit imagery. We have, gosh, sexual exploitation, branding, imprisonment. Obviously, there's the coercion financially and all sorts of other ways. And also, well, evading the law, and lots of other things. Cults hiding behind business. Cults hiding behind business, like the Unification Church. Great stuff. Oh, LuLaRoe, yeah, of course. We've got Heather said cult-based murders, and so did a Juco. Cult-based murders. There's some examples, aren't there? But there's the TTI. Oh gosh, the Lost Boys podcast about the kid that what was his name? Daniel, who went missing and was never found. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I feel really bad about about not remembering. The Lost Women of Nexium. And then I think, wasn't there somebody that went missing from Love Has Won that was not seen or was found deceased, and then they determined that it wasn't linked, but everybody thought at first that it was. I can't remember who posted the story, but there was a woman who went missing into a cult recently. So it's not like missing once you're in a cult, it's missing going into. These are all really, really good points. I'm just having a little look through the Susan Dones MVP. Yes, Nicole, if you can find out that would be really helpful. So there's so many different things that we can touch on that I will make a note of going forward. And I think that's pretty much everything to talk about today. I had a few. Oh no, I've written a list on some of the precious artwork. I will add that to my list of things to discuss in terms of linking true crime to cults. 1974, 2 women disappeared in Dublin. 1974. And 3 stories. I mean, people always say, "Where is Shelley?" That's a high-profile case of somebody just disappearing, I imagine. Right, so oh, what's this? Oh, thank you. Juco and Nicole have both donated to the stream. Thank you both so much. Thank you. I need to send people things even if they haven't won gifts, I think. Let me check my list of who won prizes. I already have some things to send you, Nicole, so I'll put some extra goodies in. Oh, I have so many amazing things to package up and send out. Oh, when I send your signed Chris Pratt picture, Heather, I'll have to take it out the frame because I sent a frame once in the post, and when it got to the other end, it was just in pieces. So I will make sure that I carefully package that up. Trying to help you cover the cost. Thank you, Nicole. I am thinking at this point that there's so many things to send that we might actually be running at a loss, but whatever happens, I am going to be sending some money to the Family Survival Trust. So thank you. Thank you so much for um I'm really looking forward to I love it's like Christmas. It's like I love packaging everyone's stuff and taking it to look of Yadia's hair. That's a bit that's a bit creepy. Maybe we should all ask and then when people say, Yanya, why are you why do you have no hair left? It's it's funny because there was a group of people at Crimecon that were talking about having Colin Sutton air fresheners in their car, pictures of his face on their air fresheners. That was a lots of interesting discussions were generated from that. So I think that's everything. If anybody thinks of anything, oh, I'm joking. If anybody has anything else that they think of in terms of linking cults to true crime, please get in touch and let me know. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a rambling session. Just wanted to catch up with you all and tell you what I've been up to, and Crimecon and John ATAC and the fundraiser and all the amazing stuff that's happening with the Cult Vault podcast. going to be submitting the show to more podcast awards, so hopefully we'll get that award one way or the other, and carry on putting out all of the work, especially leading up to the master's course where I will be stopping interviews. I went through my release schedule the other day, and with all of the interviews that I have lined up to release, and all of the recordings that I plan to do between now and September, it looks like we will have a new episode every week until January, and then after that we will be remastering and re-releasing old episodes from the catalogue. So there'll still be stuff coming out on the podcast. It won't be new, but hopefully it will be fresh and updated as I study. And then after the course is finished, I'll be back to interviewing people this time next year, maybe. And hopefully I will have a chance to keep dropping in and doing some of these streams to just keep people up to date with how the course is going and some of the stuff that we're covering, and some of the material of the course. And who knows what type of interviews I'll conduct after the course, and if my approach to the work changes and all of the things I've learned, and I can start calling myself a cult expert, because at the moment I'm not qualified, but I will be soon, and I have so much knowledge that here comes Casey the cult expert, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So do keep me posted if you go to ICSA, if you get Crimecon tickets, if you get your gifts, your prizes, your merchandise in the post, and any other good stuff. Oh, and how we can link true crime, maybe court cases, or how guests are doing. That's a really good idea, Heather. I'm going to write that down. I've got a big list of people that are looking to interview already. How are guests doing? That's a really good idea, Heather. I think what I could do is send out an email to all of the people that have been on the show and say, what are you up to? How have things been since we spoke? So we'll get onto that as well. I can send out a big old email to everybody and ask how that's going. And we'll see. So thank you all so much for joining me this evening, and thank you to those extra donations. I truly appreciate just just sitting here with me this evening. When you release old episodes, maybe provide updates. That's updates from the re-released episodes. I see what you mean. That's an even better idea. Updated episodes. You will be the cult expert. Let's see. Here's hoping. We have I am 30 years old now, so we've got scope. We've got a chance. Arctic monkeys are nearly on. You're a cult expert to me. Thanks, Heather. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. I'm going to sign off for the evening. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and maybe I'll jump in and do another one of these streams sometime soon. Nicole says, great job, Casey. Yes, you're an expert and you're going to be even more amazing. All of us together, we're all growing, we're all sharing, we're all educating one another. And I'm so happy and thankful to be working in this space with all of you. So thank you all so much, and I'll speak to you soon. Oh, I should say, that is the end of this live stream. I'm your speaker, Casey, host of the Cult